So with all of the rainfall that we've had across the Southeast over the past couple of months, particularly in northern Alabama and northern Mississippi, we have seen our river levels starting to rise. Now, we've seen devastating flooding in Mississippi along the Pearl River, but today I spoke with forecasters at the National Weather Service here in Mobile about the river levels with our major rivers in Alabama and if they have the potential to flood with this upcoming rainfall event.
What if every state you thought you knew suddenly revealed a secret so bizarre it rewrote the rules of geography? Imagine Alabama, soaked in rivers and rain, yet almost entirely devoid of natural lakes, where nearly every lake is a human-engineered creation, crafted from dammed rivers, oxbow loops, and coastal lagoons, turning ordinary landscapes into forced aquatic illusions.
In Juneau, Alaska, record floodwaters from the nearby Mendenhall Glacier peaked yesterday, swelling the Mendenhall River to more than 16 feet and breaking last year's record. Some streets flooded and a few residents evacuated after water seeped past barriers, protecting riverfront homes. By late morning, officials said the water was receding and people could return home.
Really not unusual in Alaska this time of year either. All that snow melts and everything.
Then there's Alaska, the state that refuses to be pinned down. Stretching so far west it crosses the 180th meridian, technically placing parts of the state in the eastern hemisphere, allowing a single state to occupy the far north, the far west, and the far east all at once. Arizona, contrary to desert stereotypes, harbors millions of acres of ponderosa pine in the north, creating one of the largest pine forests in the world, a verdant counterpoint to the sandstorms of its southern half. Arkansas hosts the restless Mississippi, a river that has literally moved state borders over centuries, leaving towns straddling legal and physical geography in impossible confusion, demonstrating how nature can redraw maps without consulting lawmakers.
New tonight, a San Antonio man was found dead along a high-elevation trail at Mount Whitney in California. Taylor Rodriguez was found on a trail at an elevation of 12,000 feet. An earlier post on social media said it was believed he was attempting to summit Mount Whitney on December 30th. Mount Whitney is known as being a difficult trail with ice patches in the winter, requiring special gear in many cases.
California, the ultimate elevation flex, packs both the highest peak, Mount Whitney at 14,505 feet, and the lowest point, Death Valley's Badwater Basin, into a single, breathtakingly compact area, offering a vertical roller coaster from alpine snow to sun-scorched salt flats in under 100 miles. Colorado's Great Sand Dunes present another clash of extremes, a desert so high in the Rockies that snow-capped mountains rise just behind towering dunes over 750 feet tall, allowing sandboarding with snowstorms in the background. Connecticut struggles for its summit identity, borrowing the southern slope of Massachusetts' Mount Frisell as its highest point, a subtle geographical compromise that leaves the state without a true peak, while Delaware defies straight lines with a mathematically perfect circular northern border, granting it ownership of riverfront across state lines.
After years of begging for a shortcut between I-95 and the Turnpike, the Florida Department of Transportation finally has a plan. The issue here is the big price tag on that project, and the end goal of easing traffic on Indiantown Road could be years away. So let me show you right now what they're proposing. So on your screen, you're looking at a rendering of what is being proposed. This is going to be west of Hobe Sound. The proposed improvements would connect the Turnpike to I-95 near Southeast Bridge Road. In a virtual
Florida, relentlessly flat, peaks at Britton Hill, a mere 345 feet, making the state a literal pancake where every hike is a stroll across a gently tilted landscape. Georgia hides adrenaline underground with Ellison's Cave, whose 586-foot vertical drop is the tallest uninterrupted cave descent in the continental United States, a pitch-black thrill ride for the fearless.
Welcome to the Green Sand Beach on the Big Island of Hawaii. This just gem of a beach location that's quite unique in the world. There's only 3 green sand beaches. This is one of them. The other 2 are in Guam and the Galapagos.
Hawaii dazzles with rare green sand at Papacolia Beach, formed from volcanic olivine crystals eroded over 49,000 years, one of only 4 green sand beaches on the planet. Idaho's Hell's Canyon beats the Grand Canyon with nearly 8,000 feet of vertical relief, a hidden giant that rewards adventurous hikers and rafters with unspoiled vistas. Illinois contends with river quirks thanks to the Mississippi.
The longest cave in the world just got even longer. Mammoth Cave National Park just made the announcement on its Facebook page. The Cave Research Foundation revealed 8 new miles of the cave system. That means there's 420 known miles of passages. Mammoth Cave is about 95 miles south of Louisville. It's currently open for daily tours, and masks are required for everyone in buildings and crowded outdoor space.
Maine wins the Coastline Championship through fractal complexity, its tidal shoreline exceeding 3,400 miles with countless inlets and islands, surpassing California's linear beaches. Maryland pinches down to just 1.8 miles in its western panhandle, a geographic corset born of colonial border drama. Massachusetts conceals the semi-arid Marrow Desert, an accidental stretch of sand exposed after glaciers and settlers conspired with erosion to create a New England anomaly. Michigan flaunts over 11,000 inland lakes and access to 4 of the 5 Great Lakes, turning the state into a freshwater paradise where water is never far away.
Away from the rest of the United States, that you don't have any of the things that people just normally take for granted. Can you imagine having to tell people that to have a passport to come over for supper for your house?
That's the reality of life here, day or night. In this border town in the United States, affectionately known as the Angle, nobody is talking about building a 30-foot wall.
Minnesota contains the Northwest Angle, a northern exclave stranded above the 49th parallel due to an 18th century cartographic error, forcing residents to cross international borders for routine travel. Mississippi's New Madrid earthquakes once reversed the Mississippi River itself, creating temporary upstream flow and reshaping the landscape across the Midwest. Missouri's Big Spring gushes 290 million gallons daily with enough force to carry tons of dissolved rock, a reminder that rivers don't always trickle politely. Montana swings from minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit winters to 117 degrees Fahrenheit summers, a climate that demands both sunscreen and thermal gear within the same year. Nebraska planted the largest hand-built forest in the Western Hemisphere over former Sandhills Prairie, proving human ambition can rewrite natural history. Nevada's crumpled ranges reveal a tectonic chaos over 300 mountains strong, making it one of the most mountainous states outside Alaska despite its desert reputation. New Mexico's white sands, composed of pure gypsum, glows under moonlight like a surreal Arctic desert in the southwest, offering a visual paradox where sunburn meets cold sand. New York's Adirondack Park dwarfs many national parks with 6 million acres, legally protected wilderness larger than some entire states, a reminder that nature persists even in the Empire State. North Carolina relocated the 4,800-ton Cape Hatteras Lighthouse inland 2,900 feet, engineering a feat to escape the relentless movement of the Outer Banks. North Dakota stakes a claim as the geographic center of North America in rugby, a town of fewer than 3,000 people standing at the heart of the continent, celebrated with flags and monuments.
That's when a small fire occurred on a Sunday morning in 1969, so small in fact, News 5 had the only camera there. That fire was on the Cuyahoga River, the last of several that took place there. It prompted Cleveland's Mayor Carl Stokes and his Congressman brother Lewis to take action. Together, they went to Washington to pass the Clean Water Act, which in turn led to the creation of the EPA.
Ohio's Cuyahoga River famously caught fire due to pollution multiple times in the 20th century, a fiery testament to industrial impact and the urgency of environmental reform. Oklahoma, lacking natural lakes, re-engineered over 200 reservoirs to manage its water supply, a bold human intervention rewriting the state's geography. Oregon's Crater Lake, born from a collapsed volcano and sealed from inflow or outflow, sits 1,943 feet deep with water so blue it seems unreal, a volcanic masterpiece of clarity and color. Pennsylvania's Centralia hosts an underground coal fire that has burned since 1962, turning the town into a ghostly landscape of smoke, heat, and abandoned streets. Virginia's eastern shore requires a 17.6-mile bridge tunnel to stay within the state, blending engineering with coastal necessity, a literal shortcut connecting the mainland and barrier islands. Washington reigns as glacier royalty in the lower 48, housing over 3,000 glaciers, more than the other contiguous states combined, sustaining rivers, shaping landscapes, and creating the American Alps in miniature. West Virginia's New River, older than the Appalachians themselves, flows north, carving gorges instead of meandering peacefully, illustrating a river so stubborn it predates the mountains it slices through. Wisconsin's Death's Door Strait earned its ominous name through centuries of treacherous waters, claiming countless ships as it funnels Lake Michigan into Green Bay, a maritime gauntlet that continues to inspire caution and awe. Wyoming contains Yellowstone's supervolcano, a 45-mile-wide caldera capable of burying vast portions of North America under ash. Its geothermal features like geysers and hot springs merely serve as clues to the sleeping giant below. These are not just quirky footnotes. They are the hidden, extreme, and sometimes terrifying truths of the United States, where mountains, rivers, deserts, forests, and ice collide in ways that defy expectation, challenging what we think we know about America. From Alabama's engineered lakes to Wyoming's molten underworld, the United States emerges as a living laboratory of geography, a country where every state hides a secret extreme, an anomaly, or a spectacle that stretches belief and invites curiosity. The map we memorized in school is only a surface-level guide. Beneath it lies a world of vertical drops, vanishing rivers, fossilized seascapes, subterranean rivers, and glaciers that dominate entire ranges. What will you discover if you travel beyond the roads and cities into these hidden realms, where every state stakes a claim on the truly insane, proving that America's geography is as wild, strange, and magnificent as its history? This is the United States revealed in its rawest, most jaw-dropping form. One insane geographic fact per state, a non-stop parade of natural and human-made extremes that demand both admiration and disbelief, a true testament to the Earth's creativity and occasional absurdity. Alaska, meanwhile, continues to defy simple labels. Beyond its far-reaching islands, the state is home to Denali, the highest peak in North America at 20,310 feet. Yet Denali doesn't just sit majestically for postcards. It shapes weather patterns for hundreds of miles. Snow and ice collect unevenly on its slopes, feeding rivers that snake across the state, eventually spilling into the Pacific or Arctic Oceans. Alaska's glaciers are moving monuments of geological time, some advancing while others recede dramatically, showing that even in modern times, the Earth is still actively sculpting the land. And if you thought those glaciers were only static ice, think again. They carve valleys, gouge basins, and even generate earthquakes as they shift their massive weight. Alaska is a geography playground in slow motion, teaching lessons that span centuries in every glacier and peak. Arkansas reminds us that rivers are living entities with a will of their own. Mississippi's tendency to shift its course created legal and geographic absurdities, stranding towns and forcing governments to improvise services. These quirks aren't just historical. The river continues to evolve, occasionally nudging islands, banks, and even man-made levees into new positions. Imagine relying on a river to determine where state borders lie. Arkansas residents live that reality, a reminder that nature rarely plays by human rules. California's dramatic height differences are mirrored in its climate extremes. Mount Whitney sees snow even in late spring, while Death Valley can reach temperatures exceeding 130 degrees Fahrenheit. That juxtaposition creates wildly diverse ecosystems, where you can hike alpine trails in the morning and later drive to a desert valley that feels like another planet entirely. California's tectonic activity further complicates the story, with faults like the San Andreas shaping mountains, valleys, and basins in a slow, continuous reshaping of the landscape. The state isn't just large, it's vertically intense, horizontally diverse, and geologically alive in ways most people never consider. Colorado's Great Sand Dunes are a microcosm of the state's extremes. Sand from the San Luis Valley is blown into mountains of powdery ridges, trapped against the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Behind these dunes, snow-laden peaks rise, creating a constant visual tension between desert and alpine environments. Wildlife adapts to this duality in surprising ways, from insects thriving in desert heat to snowshoe hares navigating the nearby snowy slopes. It's a place where the rules of expectation are constantly broken, and every dune, ridge, and peak tells a story of survival and adaptation. Connecticut and Delaware both have unusual stories about borders. Connecticut's borrowed high point on Mount Frisell shows that sometimes geography doesn't conform to state pride, leaving the state with a technical peak but no mountaintop glory. Delaware, meanwhile, drew a perfect circular boundary that extends to the Delaware River, creating legal quirks and disputes over ownership that persist to this day. Both states illustrate that maps are human constructs, and even precise geometry cannot fully contain the natural world. Florida's extreme flatness continues to shape the state's culture and challenges. Stormwater management, flood planning, and infrastructure all contend with an almost imperceptible sloped terrain, which means that even minor weather events can dramatically affect large areas. While the state may appear uniform, subtle changes in elevation define ecosystems like the Everglades, where slow-moving water creates an interconnected web of flora and fauna unlike anywhere else on Earth. Florida proves that even the flattest landscapes have a complex story to tell if you look closely enough. Georges Ellison's cave is just the beginning of the state's underground wonders. The sheer drop of 586 feet is a vertical world of darkness, limestone, and ancient forces, but the region is also riddled with smaller caves, caverns, and underground streams. Each passageway is a laboratory of geology and biology, hosting creatures adapted to life without light, revealing evolutionary experiments in real time. George's surface may be peach-laden hills and football stadiums, but beneath lies an adrenaline-inducing world that few ever see, where gravity and time intersect in ways that challenge perception. Hawaii's volcanic legacy goes beyond green sand beaches. Lava flows continue to reshape the Big Island's coastline, swallowing roads, forests, and even entire neighborhoods. The state's volcanic activity is not ancient history. It's ongoing, forming new land, creating black sand beaches, and depositing minerals in ways that are both destructive and spectacularly creative. The islands are living proof that geography can be simultaneously violent, beautiful, and endlessly regenerative. Iowa's glacial silt hills are more than a quirky anomaly. They're evidence of wind, ice, and time combining in a rare geological experiment. Kansas' fossilized seascape similarly illustrates that today's prairies were once underwater worlds teeming with life. Kentucky's Mammoth Cave pushes the concept further, hosting mile after mile of passageways, rivers, and chambers that represent not just Earth's geological history, but a thriving underground biosphere of adapted organisms. Louisiana's disappearing land demonstrates the fragility of sediment-based states, constantly reshaped by the river and the sea, where entire towns can vanish over decades. Maine's coastline is deceptively massive, a fractal labyrinth of inlets, islands, and bays that challenges any simplistic measurement. Maryland's narrow western panhandle, Massachusetts' Marrow Desert, and Michigan's freshwater dominance each highlight unique ways states interact with land and water, from bottlenecks to dry expanses to lake-rich environments. Minnesota's northwest angle, a northern exclave, challenges notions of state continuity, while Mississippi's river reversal, Missouri's Big Spring, and Montana's extreme temperature swings reveal forces both natural and extreme, shaping lives and landscapes alike. Nebraska's hand-planted forest, Nevada's mountainous chaos, New Hampshire's wind extremes, New Jersey's pine barrens, New Mexico's blinding gypsum dunes, New York's vast Adirondack wilderness, North Carolina's lighthouse relocation, and North Dakota's geographic center all tell a story of human ingenuity meeting natural extremes. Ohio's flammable river, Oklahoma's artificial lakes, Oregon's Crater Lake, Pennsylvania's underground fire, and Rhode Island's tiny scale continue this narrative, demonstrating that the United States is not just a collection of states, but a tapestry of extreme geography, human intervention, and hidden wonder. From the submerged towns to supervolcanoes, glacial peaks, disappearing rivers, and man-made forests. This sprawling geographic mosaic reveals the United States as a living laboratory of extremes. Every state contains a story of conflict between human expectations and natural forces, a record of millions of years of Earth's creativity, chance, and relentless change. Geography here is not static. It's a performance, a spectacle, and sometimes a mystery that challenges perception. So after seeing all of this, here's the real question. What if the United States is far more than just a political map filled with borders, cities, and state lines? What if it is actually a massive network of strange landscapes, extreme environments, and geographic quirks quietly telling stories that most maps never reveal? Think about it for a moment. How can mountains rise thousands of feet into the sky while rivers nearby seem to ignore gravity and defy logic? What else might you discover if you left the highways behind, hiked into forgotten forests, descended into underground rivers, or peered over cliffs that dwarf anything in your imagination? The answer is simple. Every state has a secret, and most of them are stranger than fiction.